Hey there, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast, the show that's all about helping photographers just like you build a thriving business without sacrificing your sanity. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned full-time photographer and marketing coach, here to fill your earbuds each week with practical tips, real-life stories, and a whole lot of encouragement. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get to it because this girl means business. Oh, friend, welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast. Have I got an episode for you today? This one is another Facebook post inspired episode, and we're going to be talking today about websites. So the other day, I am scrolling through a Facebook group for photographers, and I notice a post that has 0 comments on it, which is rare because this particular Facebook group is very, very active, and people are pretty quick to go and leave their 2 cents. So I was kind of surprised it didn't have any response. And it had been up for probably a good 30 minutes or so, I think, when I came across it. So this post in particular was asking the question of, do I need a website for my photography business? The way it was worded was she said, I don't have a website for my business yet. I'm debating on whether I really need one. Is there anybody that just uses social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok, to run their business? That was the question. Now, maybe the reason there weren't a whole lot of comments is because there are not many people who actually just run their business on social media. And that's kind of what she was asking for. So this made me pause and think, I wonder how many people are wondering the same thing. And maybe this is a younger generation question. And I don't know. I mean, I know I have a wide range of y'all listening, but if you're someone who is just starting out in photography and you don't have a website yet, this is definitely going to be the episode for you. But even if you already have a website, this is going to give you some insight into why and how to maximize the website you have. So in response to her question of, do I need a website for my business? My answer is a resounding yes. You absolutely need a website for your business. And in my opinion, a couple of different reasons. The first one being primarily legitimacy. I do think that while social media has a stronghold on our society, there's still a little bit of skepticism, I guess, around social media. And just because you create a social media page or account doesn't necessarily mean that you are a legitimate business owner. And there's sadly way too many people out there who are taking advantage of that system. And not to say that having a website means that you are a legitimate business or you're not going to scam people. Unfortunately, that happens as well. But there's something about the idea of having a website that just feels like you've invested a little bit more time, effort, money into making sure people have the information they need about your business. So in my response to this poster, I just kind of said, put yourself into the shoes of your client. If you are online just to buy like a $10 item, then buying it off a social media post is probably fine. But if you're investing hundreds of dollars into a photographer, you're likely going to want to make sure that you are investing your money or putting your money into a place you feel confident about. And if that person only has an Instagram account or only has a TikTok account, you might have a harder time converting that person into an actual paying client. So having a website not only gives you kind of legitimacy, it just gives you a place for people to go to feel like that they can learn more about your business and that you're not just out here randomly one day woke up and said, I'm going to throw up an Instagram account and start telling people that I take pictures. So while social media is fine and great, having a website gives you a little bit more authority as an actual business owner. So for that reason, I do think you definitely need to have a website. Now, the second part of this, the second answer I gave her in my response, is that if you are depending on social media for your audience to get all the information that they need from you, then I think they're going to feel very frustrated, overwhelmed, or like they don't have all the answers to the questions that they need. Because a lot of times people will come across your social media account and they may see a picture you posted and they might see one little snippet of information. They may go look at your profile, read through a couple posts, but now you're asking them to go on like a scavenger hunt through your social media account to get the answers to the questions they might have or to find the information that they need, when what they really want to do is just go to your website and have everything they need right in one place. But you don't have that as an option for them. And so now they're having to do a lot more of the work. And as we all know, if you ask somebody to put in a lot of work, they're probably not going to do it. So you have to make it as simple as possible. And honestly, I feel like a website makes that as simple as possible. The other thing here is when you have someone, if all you have is an Instagram account and someone wants to book with you, how do they do that? That was my other question to her was, how do they book with you? Do they have to send you a DM and then you just DM back and forth? That feels a little unprofessional, but again, I'm of an older generation. I don't do social media the way like these younger generation does. So maybe that's okay if they're, younger, booking a session with you. And not to generalize as far as generations go, but I do feel like that maybe the younger, if you're booking, brides in their 20s, they might do that, or you're booking clients that are in high school and seniors in college, they might do that. But again, I feel like that most people are going to want to have a place to go to email you with information or to learn more information about your business. And if they're just going to your Instagram profile and there's no button for them to click on, no link to click on that takes them to a website, I do feel like that's going to turn people off. So for that reason, that's my second reason for I feel like you need to have a home base just to give people a place to get information and contact you. And then the third thing here is ownership. And I've said this time and time again about social media, and it is one of the reasons why I do not put a lot of stock in social media, is that we have zero, maybe 0.5% control over our social media accounts. We can control what content we put on it for the most part, but we don't have control of these accounts. They are controlled by the powers that be. And unfortunately, I don't trust those powers that be. They are going to make changes. They are going to make decisions based on what's best for them as a business, not what's best for us as a business on their platform. And so maybe you're relying heavily on a feature on Instagram to help you book clients, and they decide that feature is not really relevant anymore and they take it away. What are you left with? Or maybe they decide your account as a whole has gone against some weird violation, or there's a glitch in the system and your whole account disappears. Then what? Your whole business is gone. You have no other way for people to reach you. And so for that reason, I feel like having something that you have a little more ownership over, like a website, is going to give you a little more control back in your business and make you feel less like you're just sort of at the whim of Zuckerberg and Meta and anyone who's like, hey, we just want to do what's best for us. If you're building a business on TikTok, you probably have had this realization in the last 6 months of oh, hey, this whole platform could go away at any moment. And if I'm building my entire business on a platform that I don't have ownership over, that's not always the safe bet. So there's a lot of uncertainty, in my opinion, on social media, not only with will the platforms be here? I think they'll be around, especially Instagram and Facebook, but what will they look like? Because if you look at what Instagram was 10 years ago versus what it is today, or even 3 years ago versus today, there's a ton of things that have changed and evolved. There's a lot of features that have gone away. There's a lot of, things that have changed over time that haven't always been the most beneficial to business owners. So just really paying attention to the idea that you're building your foundation on shaky ground if you're building it only on social media. And then the last thing I want to point out here with websites is the added value of search engine optimization. If you are relying on social media as your only source for finding clients, there's a lot of people who are moving away from social media. They're spending less time on social media. And when they're on social media, they're there for entertainment purposes, not necessarily for shopping purposes. And I have asked a lot of people, in fact, I've pretty much asked all of my clients over the last year or so this question of, when you're searching for a photographer or when you're searching for something that, a business online, where do you search first? And almost 100% of them have said Google. And now there's some that'll say things like, well, I also asked my friend, or I did look on Instagram or Facebook, but ultimately I ended up going to Google. So there are some of those like outlier pieces, and I didn't track this like as a true research study, so I don't know exact numbers, but almost 100% of them said Google was ultimately where they ended up searching for. Now, while social media posts and content are starting to be more searchable on Google searches, they are still not the first things that come up. So if I go to Google and I type in high school senior photographer in my area, I'm not going to necessarily get Instagram accounts. I'm going to get websites. And as a business owner, I want to bring in as many clients as I can. And so why would I want to limit myself to only clients that are on a social media platform? Especially since most of the people on that platform aren't necessarily using it as a search engine. They're also not using it as a way of finding necessarily a business to spend money with. They are sometimes, but very rarely. They're mostly there for entertainment purposes. And so if I can spread myself out into a couple different places, and building up my SEO on my website is going to help me get more traffic and more eyes on my brand, then that makes more sense to me. And so you can still do the social media. You can still have a lot of your content and things like that, all your content. You can still promote a ton of things on social media. You still get a lot of clients from social media. But having the website, in my opinion, is also incredibly important for your business. It's not something that needs to be a either or. I think it needs to be a and. I'm going to have social media as a primary source of communicating and finding my clients, and I'm going to have a website that also gives them a home base to go to for information, a way to get in touch with me, and builds my SEO so that I can have more clients finding me that maybe won't find me on social media. I have found that the typical journey of a client is one of two things. Either they come across your social media page if you're incredibly active and are getting in front of a large audience, and then they will go to your website. Or they are searching on Google, they find your website, they learn about you, and then they see you also have social media, so they go over there to see what you've done recently. So the two of them need to go hand in hand, but you have to have that website piece because it's either the first touch point or it's the last touch point. And ultimately, I do think the ones who go from website to social media ultimately go back to website to book with you. There's not a good way to track that because most people are going to say they found you either, one way or the other, but ultimately they end up on your website at some point. So to the person who posted that question and to anyone listening, yes, having a website is definitely key to your business. I think that even if it is just a starting point of I have a place, a home base for people to go to, and then you build on it from there, I do not think we need to be relying on social media as our primary place for our business to live online. And so for that reason, the website is absolutely key. And on that note, if you are looking for a website platform, I have used several over my lifetime of being in business, and I'm currently using Showit. Now, this is not like an ad for Showit or anything like that, but I will say that I absolutely love Showit. I moved to it as a recommendation of a friend whose website I absolutely love, another photographer. And once I switched over, there's a little bit of a learning curve when it comes, like with any platform, of how to build your site, but you can basically do anything you want on Showit. They have tons of templates and you can add on from there. You can buy a template on, different websites or Etsy and customize them that way, hire a designer, whatever. But the flexibility and the freedom that Showit gives you to just basically put things where you want on a website and make them do what you want them to do is pretty awesome. And so if you're interested in trying that out, I do have a link down in the show notes where you can go and check that out and try out Showit for yourself if you would like. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you back here next week, same time, same place.